Today I am showing you how I work these lovely abstract landscape prints out. Enjoy watching me. Hello Jelly fans! I've been playing with alcohol and other texture making things on the gel plate, and today I'm working them all out. If you missed the printing part, here is the link. And I couldn't decide on this one. I wanted to create the tree shapes with negative painting. So I asked you, my jelly fans, whether I should make the background negative painting dark, mixed, or light white. And most of you choose A, the dark version. Thank you so much for your votes and nice comments. Now let's get to it. Other than my usual, I want to work on this one with a brush and acrylics. I dug out several blue acrylic colors, Phtalo and Indigo. This one has almost nothing left in it, but it still works. I'm wetting the brush just a little bit. These paints are opaque, and so one layer is enough. And carefully I am filling in all those spaces between the trees, and this is how I create the trees. I don't want to lose so much of the cling film effect that I have here, so I gotta be quite careful. Actually, this brush is really bad. It's quite embarrassing. Why don't I get it? It takes a little longer until I took another brush. I also used the Phtalo blue of the Golden Open slow drying paint, which I used for this print, so I thought it would go best with the printed blue. So I made a comparison, filled in some other parts with this one, always taking care that the trees get trunks. And this indigo, that was really has been in my drawer for like, I don't know, 15 years. And you can really see it. And it smells a little strange. But, you know, I thought, well, I can still use it. But I really wouldn't recommend to do that. If the paint has got bacteria in it, it might just destroy your painting later. So don't do what I do. I just tried this indigo because in the mock-up that I did in Procreate version A, that was a very dark blue, so I want to make it a little darker than the Phtalo blues here. But I end up dabbing off some of the indigo and going over it with a Phtalo blue. And you'll see later that it stays darker anyway. See, this is the thing with the digital creating. It makes the decision easier, but you never get it like in real life. And the paint is just all over. It's a lot lighter here. So I decided not to use the dark indigo, which looks almost black, but the Phtalo really. I would never make a digital painting just on its own. All you AI fans, go away. It's just not, when you create something like this in real, it's just so rewarding. It makes you so happy. You cannot get that with AI. Just wanted to mention that. And here you see me create a trunk for that tree, which wasn't there before. I just made it up. And then I go on with the cling film background. Here I'm letting it fade. I dilute it with water to the side, and then coming in with dark as long as the water is still a little wet, so that it just gradually goes lighter. And I'm creating some even stranger shapes for trees. Remember that I made these round shapes with alcohol dripping into the paint on the gel plate. And it didn't hurt the gel plate. I don't know how it is if you do this very often. Maybe the gel plate would suffer, but I don't really think so. The negative painting is an art form and a technique for itself, and I marvel at it all the time. Tell me in the comments if you want to see more videos about negative painting. That would be fun. I love to do that. Maybe even with watercolor or so. So that was the upper part. And now I'm working just a little bit on the lower part, because this obviously is water, although I didn't plan it to be, but this stencil gives me shapes that I think are water-like. And I'm putting in some dark indigo pencil drawing, not in all places. And I want to have that color up there. Anyway, that shape and the lower part turned really out dark. So what I'm doing now is I'm darkening the acrylics with a pencil. And actually, I didn't think that would work, but it does. And here I want to break a lance for the old pencil sharpeners, the ones we used in school. Like these, they work so well. All these fancy new stuff and the electrical stuff, they just break off the pencil lead too often, especially the electrical ones. So use the old-fashioned ones. And this is always my favorite part. With the sharp indigo pencil, I'm making a rim. I'm making sort of a frame and working with the shapes that are there, like interrupting that line often and, you know, just playing a little. I love that. And I always make these shadows, so to speak, only in the lower part and on the right side, as the light in my paintings always comes from the top left. Even up there with a little smearing, I'm making a frame. So, this is the dog version. How do you like it? I like it better than the mock-up I made. Here is a daffodil that I printed in one of my flower printing videos. And I want to use this as a collage element for these new little landscapes. This is the back, by the way. It looks even more interesting than the front. And I'm trying it on several of my little landscapes, and I just can't make up my mind, as usual. Don't worry, I'm not making another poll here. But what I end up doing later is that I'm just scanning it, so I could also, the back side and the front side, I could also print them out, which is a little cheating. Anyway, I'm probably going to use this on this one, but this one needs to be worked out first. So this was the rusty garden element that I printed. And I did actually print it in a way that it's on one side it is lighter and you can see only the outside rim, and on one side it's like filled, and I'm making a broader shadow here. And the division is just right in the middle. And I'm always working with these graphic designs that I do with a Brayer normally. And I did some shapes I did with the masking tape. Just look at the first part of this one. There you can see it. As I said before, I'm inspired for this graphic design by Judy Bergerson. You probably all know her. If not, take a look at her website. She is just the master of combining graphic elements with natural designs. So here I'm filling in some of the stencil shapes and giving them shadows, and I'm purposefully making them different to the other rectangular shapes. And in some of the other squares I'm using white to make some highlights, just to make it different from the square next to it. As not to make it so boringly graphic, I'm sometimes pushing the technique, in this case the white pencil, also over to another square. And these two little rascals here were just waiting for me to turn them into water drops. And it's easy, and you don't need a round shape. Just put one reflection where the light is hitting the drop, and then you have a broader white area just opposite, underneath. And then you give it a shadow, because the drops always have shadows. And some more white highlights in some areas. And some shadows to them. Look, there's 3 mini micro water drops here. The paint almost made this itself. Now I still can't decide really where to put the flower, because anywhere I put it, I'll lose some of the interesting areas. But what I want to do is pick up that yellow-orange that you see in the blossom and use it on parts of this metal flower design. And also down there in the left corner, where it didn't print so well. Sorry to get on your nerves, but I still haven't decided where the flower has to go, and I don't want to lose these nice little white shapes up there on the right. So I'm pushing it around and around, and then I wanted to print it in smaller, but my color laser printer just committed suicide. So I'm sorry, I can't really finish this one. Maybe this is a sign saying, don't use any copy techniques for your paintings. Just use original flowers. I have no idea. And just emphasizing one of those squares with a little white. These cute little white shapes I made with water, and I'm just enhancing them a little bit. And I don't even think about what these shapes are. I'm just giving them shadows. And it's always just so much fun. That's what I'm doing this for. And here I'm going really wild with a new pattern. Just a stripy area with the orange. What I hardly ever say is that this one is really for itself a little boring, I think. I don't know why, but without the flower, it's just a little boring. So I don't know what eventually I'll do with this one, but there are a lot of possibilities. This one is real beautiful. Partly because of those alcohol shapes, and one is, it turned out to be a moon or something because the color was shifted away by the alcohol completely, obviously. And the other ones are just more like trees now. They can be flowers too, it doesn't really matter. And as I have a lot of blue in this brown area below, I'm using blue for shadows here. And there are also little bushes living here, which I created with kitchen tissues. More tree shadows with a Van Dyke brown, and I'm letting that moon shine on the trees. Here I have another tree foliage which doesn't have a trunk. So I'm just drawing that in and giving it a blue shadow. And on the left there's his little trees, friends living there. And another bush friend. In my world, there can also be two moons if I want them to be there. Like this is a waning moon, I think it's called. And the other one is a full moon. But I'm deciding against it. I just want to focus on this one. And with a ruler, I'm making some rays falling through the tree foliage. And that one ray I'm drawing by hand, complete with its mirror image in the water. And diffusing that ray with some little water ripples in white, that's pretty easy to do. Just looks more realistic. But realistic isn't important here. I just wanted to have more abstract landscapes. And if I do everything correctly and realistically, it would not look natural and abstract anymore. And that's not what I want. So don't think about physics or mathematics here. And I wanted it a little more dark on the left side. And now for the water part. I'm not doing too much here. Just a little darkness on the riverbank and around some of the shapes. And again, enhancing the graphic elements I made with the Brayer by highlighting just up to the border of the next square, so to speak. But in this case, it's not too much of that. And obviously the moon is the center of attention, so I'm not doing too much down there. And again, my favorite, working out the frame of the picture. So this is how it stays. I love this one. I think it's the best of this series I've made so far. That moon is so amazing. And I didn't plan this. It just, color did it itself. And now for this one. The flower would go perfectly with this one as well. But again, I'm working this out. Yeah, I smeared a little bit on the right side. I don't know why this always happens to me. Well, on this one, I'm actually not doing so much because I think it's almost perfect as a print, like it is. I love to work out, but I don't want to overdo it. So I'm just emphasizing that flower in the middle just a little bit. Also with a little bit of graphic design, some stripes in brown, and just a little bit of shadow, not much more. And this was the honeycomb cardboard stuff that I printed. And also working this out only in some of the areas. Otherwise, it would be boring if you do it everywhere. And also I'm taking back this white, which is too loud. And that's really it. I really like this one, although I didn't like it at all when I first printed it. Strange. This one is not so interesting, and also that video is just getting too long. It's all of my day almost gone with the dubbing, so I'm gonna cut this short. I just worked out some of the textures that came there. Some shadows for cloud-like shapes. And I don't know why the clouds are on the underside of that picture. Working out some more of the structures. And one thing I wanted to show you is I've used a stencil that I put underneath. And then with the technique of the frottage, with the black pencil, I rubbed through it and made the stencil come through here. So that was fun, but it didn't do so much better for this one. It is okay, but it's my least favorite of this series. Oh, but I have to say that I could do this frottage only because I made it on quite a thin printing paper, I think, or a school paper. And usually I use the Bristol, the sturdy paper, and by accident I used a thin one here. So this was the only reason that the frottage worked. You cannot do this with a thicker paper. Some of the graphic design up there was given to me by the printing, and I just completed with more stripes. And the usual frame around the print. And that's all for today, because I urgently have to go out in the sun and at least get the sun down. Wherever you are, I hope the sun is shining in your place too. Go out into nature and then paint with nature. And I hope I see you next weekend. Until then, bye.